Welcome back in, everybody. We are here for another installment of our sports universe. Today, we finish our ranking all college football team uh, series. Today, we got our top 25 teams. Let's jump right in. So, we got our bottom five teams here. All these teams are pretty evenly matched on paper when we look at their average overall. They're all in the 85 range. Their prestige is all in that 80 range. When we look at Minnesota, they do have the lowest prestige in the whole top 25. But overall, everybody's still pretty even. It's not till you get around 15 and the top eight where things start to shift and you see slight differences. So, guys, we are going to take a look at each of these teams just a little bit more in depth, their coaching staff, their players. Also, we are still going to do that professional football NFL league. So, these seniors, be on the lookout for them because they will be most likely entering the draft. So, when we look at number 25 here, Stanford Cardinals. We're going to look at their banner on the right hand side. It shows us their rank, their 25th, 80 level prestige. Also, they're the 14th ranked recruiting class in the nation. Quick side note, to fill out all the rosters in the game created 5 cycles worth of players. Most of these ranked guys are going to be, most of these top ranked guys are going to be fifth year seniors, and it goes all the way down to redshirt freshman, true freshman, 5 classes. So just this first year, the rank is all of their recruiting uh, classes put together as one ranking. Um, so over the past 5 years, being ranked 14th in the nation ain't too bad. So when we look at the actual staff, we have Joseph Hand as the head coach of the Cardinals. He is a 4.5 star coach, but on the proverbial hot seat in year one of our universe, with his contract expiring at the end of the season. So we'll see if he is someone that they do bring back. All right, and with the first look of our players in our uh, sports universe, most of these top guys, again, will be using their last year of eligibility and will declare for the draft for our NFL universe. Uh, this team's best player, defensive end, Dallas Garza and Timothy Harper will lead the defense. Uh, they should get drafted for sure. We'll see them secure a starting spot on the next level when that time comes. Towards the bottom, we have their top quarterback, senior Dana Kirby. Uh, Strong arm, but does have some. He got some room for improvement. And number 24, the Wisconsin Badgers, uh, another 80 level prestige team, and the 13th ranked recruiting class or recruiting group. They have a 4-star head coach in Joe Downing. He'll be leading this team this year, but he also is going to be on the hot seat, not having a contract secured for next season. So will their offensive coordinator. So we'll see if they are going to return next year. All right. When we look at their roster, the Badgers will probably lean on the offensive side of the ball this season. This team's led by their senior wide receiver, Douglas Wilson. Also on the offensive side, they got running back Corey Maddox and William Poole, both a 93 rating, and tight end Shelby Hansen. A little further down, we have their quarterback, Richard Brown. He's going to be a sophomore with a 91 overall. He should most likely get the nod for the starting job. And as we move on to number 23, we got the USC Trojans, an 82 prestige team, 30th ranked recruiting class. Dennis Carter is the head coach, 4.5 star head coach. The Trojans were able to sign this staff for at least this season and next season. All right, so let's take a look at the roster for the Trojans, led by 2 defensive players, 2 defensive seniors, Peter Robles, defensive tackle, and Jamie Woods, cornerback. Uh, they've got 2 running backs, Kenneth McBride and Kareem Womack at the top of their best players. Towards the middle, we've got their senior quarterback, Manuel Rogers. But they got a good mix of offensive and defensive players. Most teams are probably going to be pretty senior heavy, but I feel like this team is really senior heavy up top. All right, so our next team is going to be number 22, the Minnesota Gophers, our only team in the top 25 below a 80 prestige. We see their recruiting rank is 54th, a big drop from the previous teams, which were 13th, 14th, and 30th. But they do have a four-star head coach, and they were able to lock in all of their coaches for at least this season and next season. Even though their recruiting rank was kind of low, they should still field a competitive team this year. Uh, John Goldstein is a senior strong safety, best player on the team, and they have a senior quarterback, Samuel Griffin, who's leading the offense. He is the best option so far, but his somewhat lack of endurance could be a detriment to him being on the field. This is Griffin's last year of eligibility, redshirt senior, but they do have a quarterback, Troy Smith, ready to step in to start next year or whenever Griffin needs to take a break this year. And our last team in the bottom five at 21 is the Auburn Tigers, another 80 prestige team. Their recruiting rank is 17th in the nation. Uh, their head coach, 4.5 star William Hampton, he and his staff should all be returning to coach again for next season as well. When we look at the Tigers roster, Jerry Barba, senior cornerback, is this team's best player. They do have a freshman, well, a redshirt freshman running back, Kenneth Suarez. Um, he should be a good player for the next couple years. A little further down from that is their quarterback, sophomore Ralph Knowlton. And a little further down from that, they have a 6'5" wide receiver, David Burns, who also is a sophomore. So they should have a nice little competitive unit for the next couple years. All right, so trying to move things right along, we got our next group of five, 20 to 16. Their prestige is still it's increasing, but not by much. Everybody's still pretty much in the same bracket. Uh, the bottom 10, if we look at their average overall, they all have a 85 average overall, but 85.1, 85.2, 85.3, you get the idea. So we're splitting hairs when we say one team may be better than the other. So it's going to be a lot of parity in the league this year. So even when we get to number one, these teams really aren't that much different. I imagine the coaching staffs and the play calling is gonna matter a lot when it comes to wins and losses this year. Starting out, we're going to look at Virginia Tech, ranked 20th, with the recruiting rank of 20th also in the nation. They have our first five-star head coach in the top 25, Sam Hoyle. He was able to ink a 4-year deal, but they will have a decision to make on Daniel Hurst at defensive coordinator if they want to bring him back next season. When we look at the Hokies roster, out of their top four players, three of them are safeties, two strong safeties, one free safety. Uh, I imagine all of them will get drafted. Potentially, all of them will be starting day one for their prospective teams when they get to the NFL. But their best player is Raymond Samples at free safety. We've got Christopher Fisher at strong safety and Craig Fulton at strong safety. Um, they do have a really good fullback in Ray Chapin, uh, but I don't know how much of an impact the fullback is going to play. Now they probably are going to run a bunch of plays for him. Hopefully, I'd love to see the fullback kind of come back and do their thing. But if we also look at the very bottom of the roster here on this page, Ray Spence, free safety, redshirt freshman, 18 years old, ready to step in. So whenever these guys graduate, they at least got some safety help to take their place. And at 19, we have the Florida Gators, an 81 prestige team, the 32nd ranked recruiting class or recruiting group. Um, their head coach is going to be four-star rated Max Cordova. He got a 2-year contract this year and next year. And then their coordinators also got multi-year deals. So everybody should be back next year. So this team's best player is going to be Kerry Little, defensive end, senior. Also near the top is going to be Elvis Martin, defensive end, senior. Uh, these guys should be starting, opposite side of each other. So this defensive line, is going to be tough. They both should get drafted. They both should be starting next year in the pros. So we'll look out for that. We look a little further down, Alan Foster. This is the team's potential starting quarterback, most likely. This is his junior year. We'll see if he returns to Florida next year or chooses to go pro. He'll have Francisco Smith, sophomore running back, Winston Hogan, junior receiver, and Danny Keeling, senior tight end, as his top skill position players. But all of them, except for Keeley, uh, potentially could come back next season and run it back. So we'll see what they decide at the end of the season. So number 18, we've got South Carolina Gamecocks. We have got a 82 prestige team, but their recruiting ranking is really middle of the road, 60, 62 out of 131 teams. So this team will have staffing holes next season if they choose not to re-sign their offensive coordinator, Tom Knowles, or their head coach, who is a 4.5-star head coach, Joshua Domingo. There were absolutely disappointing recruiting hires for head coaching uh, positions. We kind of talked about that in our coaching video, but this guy was not a disappointment. You have a good coach. I don't know why they didn't give him a long-term deal from the beginning. So South Carolina's roster is going to be led by two safeties, Devontae Peck, a junior strong safety, and James Levin, a senior free safety. They've got a lot of safety talent. A little further down, they've got Jonathan New, who's going to be a junior strong safety, backing up Devontae Peck. And then they've got Arnold Weiss, a freshman free safety, backing up James Levin. So they've got a lot of talent back there. If we look at the offense at near the top, they've got Matthew Squires. So he's going to be a senior running back. Their quarterback is senior Lewis Allen. He's got a strong arm, accurate arm, should translate to the next level pretty well. His backup is also a senior, George Bartels. He has a good arm, not a great arm. He should still make an NFL team next season, but we'll see if he gets any kind of play time this year and how that translates. So the Texas Longhorns are going to be ranked 17th to start the season. They are a 82 level prestige team, and they have the 12th ranked recruiting group in the nation the last couple years. Also, they have our second 5-star head coach in John Matson. He was able to sign a multi-year deal, but he may be looking for a new offensive coordinator this offseason if they choose not to bring back Perry Anderson. All right, so we're going to take a look at the roster for the Longhorns. Their top player is going to be Dwayne Briggs, a senior cornerback, and they have a senior running back in Julian Ross. They also have two senior tight ends, Daniel Butler and Arthur Garrett, but they also have two quarterbacks, redshirt freshman Donald Childers and redshirt senior Miguel MacArthur. Both of them are rated at 92. Both of their arm strength are pretty comparable, but Childers, the freshman, has a more accurate arm, and he's a faster player. Uh, but MacArthur is more intelligent, has more endurance, can play longer, and he's got more skill. So I think they're going to have a tough decision on who they're going to choose to be their starting quarterback. I think Childers should start as the freshman just for continuity purposes. He played the next couple years versus starting Miguel. He plays this 1 year and then he's leaving, and then you bring in Childers anyway. So, but Childers doesn't have great endurance, so he may not be able to play every snap, every game. So Miguel's probably going to step in multiple times this year. So he's going to see the field, Miguel, regardless whether he starts or not. Um, so that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And the last team in this group at number 16 are going to be the Florida State Seminoles in 82 prestige and the number 7 ranked recruiting class over the last couple years. Ruben Hernandez was brought in as the head coach. He is a 4-star head coach, and he's on a deal for 3 years. All of their coaches should be returning next year as well. So another position battle at quarterback, but this time both of our top quarterbacks are seniors, and both will most likely look to continue their careers in the NFL. Uh, Charles Cousins will most likely get the nod as the starter, but Jeff Burns is a quality quarterback. Uh, and who knows? He could be a top 30 quarterback in the draft, and he start for an NFL team. Who knows? Without taking a step in at all in college. Another one of those guys. So they will have a few offensive weapons. Running back Thomas Lou, uh, wide receiver Garland Henry, John Ledford, Porter Clay, all receivers, and a top tight end on their team, Barry Villa. Uh, they're all seniors except Villa, so they'll have a lot of talent to replace next season on the offensive side. All right. So our next group of five, 15 to 11. Again, prestige increasing, not by much. But if we look at their average overall, we do start to see that we're creeping into that 87 overall. So now we're getting into our actual better top teams. Again, we're splitting hairs here, but there are differences. We'll acknowledge those while we have them. All right, so we're going to look at the number 15 ranked team, Penn State Lions. They are an 82 prestige team, and their recruiting rank is 41st in the nation. Their head coach this year is going to be Keith Evers. He is a 4.5-star coach, really good coach. They were able to hire David Gabriel for offensive coordinator. He is a 4-star head coach, a really good offensive coordinator. And then Lauren Murillo is their defensive coordinator, the only member of the staff who doesn't have a deal for next season. So something to keep an eye on if you're a Penn State fan. Will they bring back their defensive coordinator, or will they try to improve and try to get somebody on the level of David and Keith? So when we look at the roster for Penn State, near the top, we got two senior quarterbacks, Jason Jessup and Jalen Gaskin. I don't think Gaskin is going to win the starting job. If you go through the stats, Jason Jessup is just a slightly better quarterback. Um, but on the next level in the pros, who knows what can happen? Jalen is probably going to get a starting job somewhere. If we look on defense, free safety Michael Rose, senior, and senior free safety Jason Steele. Another kind of position battle. Michael Rose is slightly better. He's got more intelligence, more skill. He's slightly faster. So I think Rose will get the starting nod, but who knows? We don't control these teams. We're just here to watch. And on to number 14, we got the Utah Utes. So Previous teams, as the prestige increased, it was mostly just by 1 point, 1 point, 1 point. This is our first, I guess, jump in prestige from 82 to 84. So they're a slightly better team. Again, we're just splitting hairs here, but all right, we're just kind of acknowledging the differences as they may come. Um, so everybody now is going to be, I believe, 84 prestige or higher. They were only able to get the 60th ranked recruiting group. South Carolina was ranked 62, so they're not the worst team technically, but out of the top 25, they are going to be towards the bottom. As far as their staff, they were able to hire a 5-star head coach, and he's our third 5-star head coach in our top 25 here, William Laporte. Not sure how to pronounce that exactly, but William Laporte, he signed a 2-year deal. Uh, we'll see if his leadership can keep this team in the top 25 um, conversation. If they win their conference, they would get an automatic bid to the playoff. So it major implications here in the Pac-12. All right, so we're going to look at the Utah roster. At the very top of the roster, we got two running backs, senior Paul Kenny and sophomore John Parsons. A little further down, we got another sophomore running back, Michael Bello. So they'll probably run a running back by committee type scheme. Um, but we'll have to wait and see. They got a senior linebacker, Bruce Crandall, who's going to be leading the defense this year. And Utah actually has three QBs on this player list here. They've got Robert Phillips, a 92 rated senior, Paul Reed, a 90 rated junior, and Jose Perry, a 89 rated senior. So Phillips and Perry are going to graduate. Phillips is probably going to get a job on the next level. Perry, if he does get a job, it's going to be, practice team, backup role. But Paul Reed is going to get another year to develop. His arm strength should get better. They're all highly accurate quarterbacks, but just lacking in that arm strength. Even Phillips doesn't have great arm strength. Um, but that might be the game plan for Utah to recruit guys that are more accurate and arm strength isn't as big of a factor. They've got four wide receivers toward the bottom. Uh, Nobody has crazy speed. They've got a few guys in the 90 speed. Two out of the four guys are 90 speed, but the other two guys are below 90. So maybe they don't need super fast receivers. They're not looking for super strong arm quarterbacks. Maybe they're relying more on their running backs, short passes over the middle, on the outside, clock management. Uh, you know, who knows? We'll see. We just gotta wait and see, man. I'm interested to see how this is going to play out. All right, so moving on to number 13, we got the Oregon Ducks, an 85 prestige team, and they are ranked 11th in the nation when it comes to their recruiting um, groups. Their head coach is going to be a 4.5-star head coach, Benjamin Goolsby. This staff should be together for the next couple seasons. Everybody's got multi-year deals. Just a side note, something weird of me that I think is weird of me. Uh, Goolsby just doesn't look like a head coach. That mohawk and that goatee and just the tie not being tied, just all of it together. Just you don't look like a head coach. But that's just me. All right, so we're looking at the Ducks roster. This team also is going to be led by their defensive safeties. Kelly Lovelace at free safety, senior. Caesar Elliott, strong safety, junior. Lawrence Yeager, defensive end, senior. And then they've got a Anthony Mancini at cornerback, also a senior. So the defense may carry this team this year. Uh, their top player on offense is a guard, Stephen Marble. He's going to be protecting their junior quarterback, 6'5", Jose Love. Again, he is a junior. He's got good arm talent, and he is draft eligible as an underclassman. He may decide to leave this year. We'll have to keep an eye out if he chooses to return or not. And at number 12, we got the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Uh, they have an 85 prestige and the fourth ranked recruiting group in the nation. In addition to that, they did hire a five-star head coach, Thomas Sullivan. He and his staff is on under contract for the next couple years, so that's already a really good setup for this program. The only thing that I don't like about their staff is going to be their offensive coordinator. Young is a 2.5 star guy. They gave him a couple years, but I think they could have made a better hire than that. We'll see if he is brought back next year or if they're going to look to improve. I imagine they're going to be a really good team, and they would want their staff to reflect how good their team can actually be. So this team's best player is going to be on defense, strong safety, Thomas White. He's a junior. And on offense, they have a senior tight end, uh, Ombre, Ombre, Ombre Reed. He's their top player on offense. They also have another tight end, sophomore Nelson Bourne. He and Reed are very similar in ability. Reed needs to work on his endurance, but that gives Bourne more opportunities to see the field. So that, good and bad. A little further down, they also have a trio of wide receivers, all rated in the 90s. Junior Owen Dix, sophomore Dennis Forrest, and the senior William Moses. They all deserve playing time, but we'll see who gets named number one receiver. And the last team in this group before we get to our top 10 teams, Michigan State. So we've got an 85 prestige level team, 33rd ranked recruiting group, and they were able to hire a five-star head coach in John Stam. He signed a total of 4 years, but their defensive coordinator, Terrell Caskey, unfortunately only signed a contract for this year, so he will be in contract negotiations in the offseason. When we look at Michigan State's roster, their best player is tight end Peter Burdick. He's going to lead the team. He is going to take the field with running back Carlos LeMay, who's a junior, and their quarterback is going to be Donald Schneider, who's a senior. Uh, their defense is actually going to be led by Cecil Kuntz, who's a 19-year-old sophomore cornerback, arguably their best player on defense. All right, so everybody that's made it this far, thank y'all for watching. Uh, I wanted to put all 25 teams in one video, but this video's already been long enough, so we're not going to do that. Top 10 will be in another video, so check that one out. I'm going to make it right after this one. It'll be out very soon. But again, thank you guys for your time. If you made it this far, leave us a like. Check us out on the next one as we continue to dump all this information on you as we try to get this league started.